Hello everyone, welcome back. We are in a little bit of a different setting this week because I am visiting family in Mississippi, and I thought it would be fun to bring you along for that and do something just a little bit different since this is kind of a different week for me, but we'll still keep it centered around home and design because you all know how much I love antique shopping, so we'll probably go around and do some of that. I've never been antiquing down south, so it's gonna be fun to see what they've got different, if anything, than what I find around me up further along the East Coast. And also, I'd love to see if my grandmother would give me a little house and garden tour because she is where I get my love of home and decorating and all of that. So I'm hoping she'll show us around, and I can't wait to give you all a little taste this week of where the story of me began here in central Mississippi. Our first stop going antiquing was the front porch in Winona, Mississippi. And as soon as I walked in, I noticed all of these beautiful ceramic pieces. They all had this like cream and tan glaze with either blue or white painted on them in some beautiful scenes. I'm normally not super drawn to the stark white and blue pieces. I think they're beautiful, but they're not necessarily my style. But these with the more cream tan color, I really loved and thought were so beautiful and would love to have brought all of them home. But I especially loved the scenes that were painted on them, the florals, the little bird, like these were just stunning. And then around the corner, I came across this large vase here with these huge chunky handles and this little ribbed band detailed around the center. This was a super sculptural piece that I thought would work really well in a very like earthy, neutral home, paired next to something like this woven basket tray thing here. I thought this piece would make an excellent fruit basket or an entryway catch-all tray for your keys, or it could just sit on top of a stack of books or on a shelf by itself. Like it could stand alone and work in that same like earthy, natural home feel. I really loved this piece and also thought this stone bowl here on this beautiful tiled table would kind of fit in that same style. I loved the variation in color on this from like the tan sandy color into like the more deep brown. And it also had this etching down in the base of it. I couldn't tell what this was supposed to be, if it was just like random carving or if it was a different language. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but I thought the piece was beautiful and similarly could sit on some books, could sit alone, could work for your keys in an entryway. Just another great piece in that same style. Similar to a lot of antique stores that I go in, this one was much bigger than it initially appeared. Down this main hallway, you get to the end and turn a corner, and off to the right is a room filled with booths, as well as if you continue and turn left, there's a whole another long hallway filled with vendors, which is where I found these two gold frames here. These were both a great size to fit into a gallery wall, or even just like pairing the two together with a set of prints that match, I thought would look great. That way, the set kind of goes together, but then each piece has its own personality because the frames are slightly different. I absolutely loved these. And then speaking of frames, I came across this one that had been turned into like a little pushpin bulletin board thing. I absolutely loved this. The fabric that they used, the ribbon detail, the frame, all of it was beautiful, and I think would be great to bring into your home instead of having like a regular cork bulletin board. Doing something like this would be super unique and decorative, but still be functional to remind you of your appointments and all of that. I just loved this idea. But back where those first two frames were, right above them was this picture here. Like I said, I don't love the stark blue and white usually, but this black and white worked really well for me personally. I loved that the shape of the vase itself was a little bit more feminine and detailed, while the black floral pattern was a little bit more angular and sharp and moody and masculine, just like a beautiful juxtaposition within one piece. I absolutely loved this. And then on my way out, I noticed this piece here that I thought was super unique. You guys know I'm not usually a huge blue fan, but the shape of this caught my eye and I couldn't really tell what it was until my grandmother told me that it was a bean pot. So you'd put your beans in this, put the whole thing in the oven and let it cook, and then use these little scoop things to reach in the pot and grab it out, and then use that as your bowl. I had never come across something like this and thought it was super unique, and it just made me smile as we moved on to our next spot, which was another resale flea market type mall in Eupora, Mississippi, where right off the bat I noticed this beautiful furniture piece. I loved the paint chipping off of it, the mix of the different hardware, just everything about this piece was so beautiful. I thought it would be perfect in like a laundry room to have your towels and linens and stuff, or in your living room you could put blankets in it and store those. You guys know I love Brandy Jackson here on YouTube. It's something I could see her turning into the most amazing little bar area. I just love this piece and thought paired next to a more polished linen sofa would give a really nice relaxed look. And on that sofa, you could put a pillow like this one here. It's a beautiful long lumbar pillow with these neutral colors, just a hint of rust, and this really nice small to medium scale pattern. They had it styled on an entryway bench, which I thought looked beautiful as well. This would look great in an entryway. And a pillow in this size with this good quality insert for only $6 was a steal. Kind of in that same style that could fit in with the little wooden cabinet, the linen sofa, that whole thing, was this wooden taper candle holder. I loved the twisted base on this. It was a great size to stand alone and be a nice sculptural piece. You could see where the wood had been rubbed down from being touched and moved over time. Just a beautiful little decorative piece next to these stunning oil paintings and these gorgeous brass frames. And then I also loved this little, I don't know if this is really an intaglio, but this little wall hanging piece with the wood frame and the carved, I don't know if this is ivory either, but the white carved angel or scene on it. So fun and could fit in that same style. And then speaking of Brandy Jackson, this vintage lighter here with the silver top and the little ice cube looking glass base totally reminded me of her style, and is something I could see her putting in a bar space like on top of that cabinet. Just all of these pieces I thought would work so well together and really reminded me of her and her style. I know she could style this piece up and make it look beautiful. I did not grab this, but looking back on this footage, I certainly wish that I would have. And then I came across this little cast iron pot. I thought this would be the perfect size for a little salt cellar out on your cabinet. Just putting your finishing salt or having like as a little pinch pot just sitting out would be a really beautiful way to display those useful items and really blend function and beauty together. The little brass knob on top made it feel a little bit more modern, even with the more rusted cast iron base. Such a fun piece, and I've been looking for something like this for my salt on my counter. However, I did unfortunately also pass on this piece. I could not tell you why, but another decorative idea I saw was this like teacup garland. Well, they had it listed as a chime, like a wind chime outside, and with these being glass or crystal, I don't know that I would use it for that. I personally would be worried about them smashing together and breaking, but I thought you could do the same thing and find some beautiful crystal cups or glass teacups at a thrift store or something for just $1 or $2 each and string them up as a garland. They had drilled holes in these, but I think you could even just loop them through the little handles and have a really fun time within like your Christmas garland or decorating for Easter, and just having them layered in with a big greenery garland thing could be super fun in any season. And you could even put lights in them and have them light up. I thought would be fun. And then one last piece that caught my eye as we were walking out of this place was this feather wreath. In my trip to Luckett's last week, you saw me buy some goose feathers and talk about Sean Anderson, who is a designer that I love, who's originally from Mississippi. And this totally reminded me of his style. These like tan and brown feathers on this wreath were so beautiful, and I thought would be so fun and warm for your Christmas decorating. We tend to use a lot of evergreens and stuff at Christmas time, and kind of breaking it up with something like this, and then adding some longer singular feathers into your green garlands would be a super fun way to tie the two together, but break up all of that greenery and really have like a warm, cozy feeling. I just thought this was stunning. And speaking of stunning, this store here in Mathiston had some gorgeous furniture pieces. If I'd have rented a car and driven down here or something, I'd have returned that car and got a U-Haul to take a couple of beautiful furniture pieces back with me. But aside from their furniture, my best find of this trip were these block print pieces on these little iron bases here. I love block print fabric for curtains or pillows or just anything. I love block print fabric. When I came across these, I was so excited. I saw this tallest one first because these were kind of like back behind some other pieces. And when I moved those other pieces and saw it was a set of 3, I started losing my mind over these. I loved them. And this little store was kind of like 2 separate businesses in one. I couldn't quite figure out, but there's the Southern style building and then the Southern cottage, which, like I said, seemed like separate things, but you pay together. I don't know. Either way, there was great stuff in both. And in the cottage, I found this little brass canister. Again, I thought it would make a great little pinch pot for your salt or something on your counter, or you could put it on your nightstand or in a guest room to help hold rings or something like that. So pretty. And I thought these teacups here were super unique. The shape of the handle kind of reminded me of like a bat wing, and then it had this like octagonal shape for the actual cup itself with the beautiful red floral on it. I thought there was only 2, and then I turned around and in the cupboard behind me there was 4 more of them, so you could have a full set of 6. And at your tea party where you have those, I thought this little jug here was a super unique idea. I had been cut and put a little wood piece in the center where you could display some beautiful scones or biscuits or something in the top part, and then in the bottom have some cookies and have served 2 different desserts at your tea party, or just in your house in general. You could store something in the bottom and then have something that ties to that displayed in the top. I thought this was super unique. And then I also came across this huge 15-gallon crock here. They had some golf clubs in it, but I thought it would make a great umbrella stand. You could put a large house plant in it. You could use it for storing blankets in your living room, or use it in your entryway to throw shoes in. That way they're not all over your floor. Just a wonderful large piece. There are so many things you could do with this, and I was so impressed with how big it was. I want to show you what I got real quick, do a little mini haul. Sometimes my hauls take forever, so I'm gonna try to be quick about this. And as I'm doing it, I'm gonna do a test run of packing to make sure I can get this all home, because I got a little bit more than I knew that I should have. I only came with a carry-on. I left it half empty, but I got more than what I think will fit, so I may have to ship some stuff back. At that first place that we went to, I did pick up these 2 frames here. They weren't selling them as a set. I bought them individually, but they weren't very expensive. This one was like $6, and then this one was $8. And these are like the perfect size to go above your toilet, just stacked together. I liked that they were similar in size, but this one's slightly smaller. The filigree on them's a little bit different, so I like the difference in them. Like I said, I think above a toilet is perfect. Or if you're a parent and your kids draw you pictures a lot, putting magnets on the back and putting something like this on your fridge would look great rather than like the plasticky, brightly colored clips and stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think this would just make it look a little bit more like artwork and make your kid feel a little more special too, because you're like displaying it in a frame all fancy and all. So my first find was these. I'm excited to get them home and I'll probably do some sketches in them. Maybe I'm not gonna sketch, but I'll get some sketches off of Etsy to put in them. And then at the next place, I got this huge blanket here. It's pretty much this pattern all the way across it. Like it doesn't change per side, I don't think. And then on the edges, it's got a little gray and black border with some little fringe along the top. And it's a huge blanket. The lady was telling us like she uses it out on her porch in the evenings. It's a great durable material. So like she has dogs that don't tear it up, and it's nice and long. So if you're really tall like me, you can fit all the way under it. So it's a nice huge blanket, and it was only $10. So she had two, and I probably would have grabbed both because they were slightly different patterns, but I didn't even know if I'd be able to fit this one. So I just got the one, and I'm excited to have less ugly blankets in my house that my dogs won't tear up. And then at that same place, I got this pillow here. It's got this nice little like cross looking pattern and some beiges and browns, and it's got a little bit of a red hint to it. I like the length of it. It's a nice long lumbar. Like you saw, they kind of had it styled on a bench, and I thought this would be great on a little entryway bench or something like that, or even just on your bed would be great. So I picked this up for me for now, but eventually if I do a little entryway project for a client and this fits in, they're more than welcome to just have it, because it was only $6 for the pillow cover and the insert, and the insert in this is a really nice one. So for $6, I had to grab this pillow. And then my favorite finds that I found were these block print things on these little iron bases. There's 3 different ones and 3 different heights, and these were all like tucked back up behind some stuff. And I saw this one here, and it looks like, because my favorite fabrics and patterns are like the block print patterns, and I saw this one and it looks very similar to the one that I like. I was like, that looks like a block print thing. Sure enough, I moved this stuff out of the way, and there was 3 of these all next to each other in different heights. This is the tallest one of the set, and it was $16, I believe. This one was the mid-height one, and it was $14. And then this was the shortest one, and it was $12. I've been all into vases and jugs and all that for a while, but I've been trying to keep my eye out for more sculptural decor pieces, and I thought these were perfect. I want to do some block print patterned curtains in my dining room, and I want these to go on that cabinetry in my sitting room. So they'll be on opposite sides, and it'll kind of be like I use these block prints to make my own curtains and have a little tie-in there. But I just thought these would be some great decorative pieces. This is almost 2 feet tall, so I thought it was perfect over there on my 40-inch tall cabinetry with my 12-inch ceilings. And because they're thin metal bases, they won't take up a ton of visual weight along the bottom. They won't be so like heavy on the eye if I put it on there. So anyway, got these to style the top of the cabinets, and I am so excited about these. And then also at the same store where I got those, I got this little dish thing here. If you can see, it's like for grating garlic on when you're cooking. It was like $2, and I've been wanting one of these, and I haven't found one without having to order it online. So I came across this for a couple bucks. I thought it was perfect, and it's a nice little like brownish green color in there. Something small enough I could throw in a drawer if I didn't want it out on the counter, but pretty enough if I did want it on the counter. I have no issue leaving it out. For $8, they were selling this just simple gold chain necklace with these simple like gold earrings here, just a little ball on them. And I'm not huge on gold jewelry, but it was simple enough. I figured I'm more likely to wear this than some of the other stuff that I have. And if not, I know that my nieces would love this, so this could go to one of them if I don't end up using it, and it was only $8, so I figured I would try it out. And then one last thing in there is this shirt here. Just a really simple linen shirt. Tried it on, super breathable, super comfortable. I'm not a big short sleeve person. I have a couple of t-shirts that I will wear throughout the summertime, but I don't have a ton of like warm weather clothes, and I prefer long sleeves. So I found this is super lightweight. I thought it was perfect. They have a blue and white version, and then this like taupe and white color. My mom got the blue and white one, and I got this one because I'm not a huge blue person. And then my mom brought this shirt with her from Wyoming, and she hasn't even had a chance to wear it, and I stole it, and now it's my shirt. So 2 new little shirts. I know that's not home related, but I'm super excited about this shirt as well. And then last thing, we went in another store and I didn't get any footage in there, but just this little spurtle here was also a couple dollars. So I grabbed it because there's a set online that I've had my eye on for a while, and it's always sold out or it's not available, and I just haven't been able to get it. And I really only need one of these. So I saw this, they had 2, and I just picked one up for a few dollars. And that's all that I got. I mean, that's a lot more than what I needed or intended to get. So I have to test pack this suitcase. I may be trading my carry-on for my sister's checked bag to be able to get all of this home. So I'm gonna do that real quick and make sure that that's gonna work, or see if I need to mail something if even her suitcase isn't big enough. Okay, so we are getting ready to go to our cousin's graduation. I don't remember if I said or not, but like that's the whole reason I'm down here for the most part, is because my cousin is graduating, and this is our youngest cousin, so this is the last graduation. I haven't been to any of the others, so this will be the only one.
Well, one of them was homeschooled.
Yeah, one was homeschooled, but she saw a party and I didn't come to it, and I felt bad.
She had a party?
Wasn't it the...
We did go, it was the tea party.
It was, I know, and it looked real fun. Because it was at Doopy's thing. Anyway, this is the only one I've been to, so we're getting ready for that. Oh, by the way, this is my sister. If you remember, I've mentioned her like one time on the channel when I went up to Davis back around Christmas time. There's a painting. I'll insert a picture here, but this is who I was referencing when I talked about that painting.
I was still for a minute so you could put it next to it.
Yeah, that's good, thanks.
You're welcome. I'm always here for the channel.
We're always here for the channel. We love it. But this is another reason why I'm here, is because my mom and sister are down from Wyoming, and I have not seen them in over a year either. So this is my sister. Her name is Alexandria, and our mom's floating around here somewhere.
She would not want to be on camera.
Yeah, she wouldn't want to be on camera. But this is our youngest cousin who's graduating, and this is the only one I have come to. Her and my mom came down, what year was that Lila graduated?
It was 2022, I think, because she's in the grade below me.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, they came down for this cousin's older sister's graduation party, and I was not able to attend that one. But it was real cool because it was like a tea party themed something, and I saw all the pictures and I was jealous. So I made sure to come for this one. But if you remember in my last video last week when I went antique shopping at Luckett's, and I was talking about Sean Anderson and how he's one of my favorite interior designers, and he's from Tupelo, Mississippi. That's up where we're headed. She's not graduating in Tupelo, but there's a town nearby that she's graduating from. So we have to get ready to drive a little bit up there.
And she's graduating at 7 o'clock in the evening
on
a weekday.
Yeah, it's a late graduation, which was nice because we did some more antique shopping this morning, and I found the best finds, the little block print things on the little stands. found those this morning and I could not be happier. So thankfully it is later because I got to find those. But that means it's gonna be late when we get back. So I'm hoping that tomorrow my Mimi will give us a tour of her garden. I don't think she'll want to show us around the house, but her garden outside, I hope at least she'll show us. She said it's a little bare now because some cats have gotten into her flower beds, but I still think it's great, and I think it's the epitome of like a collected home and like having items that mean something to you and have a story, and not just like having things for the sake of having things. Everything around her garden, even the plants, have a story behind them. So I'm really excited to share that with you tomorrow morning when it's not so hot. If you've ever been to the South, you know, I'm from the East Coast, or I'm from here, but I grew up in Wyoming where it's like frigid tundra winter wonderland for 9 months of the year. So I'm not used to the heat and humidity, and living on the East Coast now, we get a little bit of it, but not this bad and not this early. It was like 40 degrees overnight the night that I left and came down here, and now I'm like just sweating inside. Like it is hot. Sorry, I'm gonna rip your hair out. Okay, I just realized that the footage of my Mimi giving us a tour of her garden was lost. I don't have it. I don't know where it went. And I'm getting ready to head to the airport to go back home. So I don't have time for her to give us another tour, but I did want to highlight something for you real quick, because in addition to your house and heirloom pieces and things like that being passed down, you can do that with plants and make your garden just as special in the same way you do your home. And your indoor and outdoor spaces really do kind of bleed together. They're not two separate things. Your whole property is your home. So let me highlight something for you really quick that I think is really special. If you see these two rose bushes here, years and years ago, my grandmother got a clipping from my grandfather's grandmother's rose bush and rooted it and planted it. If you can see a couple houses over there, that is my great grandmother's house, but the clipping from my great grandmother's rose bush made it to my great grandmother's house, which is my grandmother's mother. And then my grandmother, when she moved back into this neighborhood, got a clipping off of that rose bush after her mother passed away. And now there are two rose bushes here that tell a part of the story from both my grandmother and grandfather's sides of the family. My grandfather's grandmother and my great grandmother on my grandma's side both have a story within these rose bushes. And then over here, this sedum here was my grandmother's grandmother's. My great grandmother who lived in that house, it was her mother's sedum. Well, it's a clipping off of. I believe the story goes, my great grandmother who used to live in that house over there, her mother had a sedum plant, and her sister got a clipping off of it and moved to Oklahoma, I believe. And then somebody, maybe my great grandmother, was visiting her aunt in Oklahoma and got a clipping off of her sedum plant that came from my great grandmother's sedum plant and brought it back here to Mississippi. And so my great grandmother had a plant, and then my aunt, or my great aunt, my grandmother's sister, ended up with a clipping of it at her house, and it grew into a sedum plant. And then my grandmother got a clipping off of it, and it has turned into that sedum plant there. And she's taken multiple clippings off of it. Every time a piece breaks off, she roots it. And so she's got this one here. There's this one here. She's got one over here on her porch down here. But all of them came from the same plant. And so just like you would pass down furniture or pictures or something like that, these plants all come from the original plant that somebody else owned, and the plants themselves have a story. And my grandmother told me that she will, before I leave here in a few minutes, is going to get a clipping off of one of these sedum plants for me to take home. We'll just like wrap it in a wet paper towel and put it in a plastic bag, and then I'll get it home and root it. So then I will have a piece of my great grandmother's sedum plant that also came from my great grandmother, a couple of my aunts, and my grandmother. And they'll all have a piece of that story in them, and I can have it for years and years to come and pass it down to some, I don't know if I'll ever have kids, but pass it down to them or nieces and nephews or anything like that, and just continue that legacy through plants, similar to how you would through furniture. And I'd love to get some of those rose bushes back there too, but with roses being kind of finicky, I don't know that I would be able to get them home on an airplane. I may have to make a trip driving down here, but my grandmother did say she'd go ahead and take a clipping off of them and start potting them up and start establishing a plant that I could take back with me at some point when I come back down here. And so while I don't have time to give you a tour of the whole garden, those little things I just wanted to highlight because I think that's really special and a great way to continue a story, have pieces with meaning in not just your home, but your garden as well, and just surround yourself with items that are meaningful and that you're really just gonna cherish, because that's what home is about. You surround yourself with things that you love and that light you up, and that's what brings the warmth and character into a space. No matter how it looks, it feels like home because you're surrounded by those things that have meaning to you. And I know that with my sedum plant, if I can get it home and get it to root, that is going to be one of my most cherished plants in my garden. So I'm excited to get that back home. And one more thing I wanted to show you, because I think this is a unique idea that I personally would have never thought of. There's one other thing I want to show you before I head out. If you see this planter here, this came from my grandmother's house when she lived about an hour and a half away from here before she moved back down. And it is just a big cast iron pot that she got from a neighbor, and it had a crack here in the side, and she just drilled holes down underneath and is using it as a planter. I love the cast iron and the brass pots I always find at antique stores, but I don't really have a use for them around my house. I just think they look beautiful, and I would have never thought to use them as a planter. So I'm gonna start keeping my eye out for some, especially that are kind of cracked and that can't really be used for anything else, and start maybe drilling some holes in the bottom of them and using them as planters. I thought that was a super unique idea. Maybe it's common practice, but I would have never thought of it. So I'm excited to start trying that out in my own garden because it looks beautiful. I love the look of that pot with the flowers in it. I love cast iron and metal, and I think it's a great way to add another texture into your garden.
I'm hushing the dog on the chain. I'm running up stones on the edge of the bank. Rally the troops for another refrain. I sing this softly to myself. I sing this softly to myself. I'm buried beneath the sand. There's no way to speak or reach out my hand. Watching the paper slowly unfold, bracing for news that I can't bear to hold, while I'm singing this song to myself.
I am finally back home. Well, kind of. I got in late last night or early this morning, depending on how you want to look at it. And I stayed the night with my sister-in-law, but now I have an hour and a half drive before I'm officially home and crash out for the rest of the day. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me this week. I know it was a little bit different, but I sure enjoyed my trip back home to the south and bringing you along for that. So if you did, please consider giving this video a thumbs up. And I would love to know where you guys are from, whether that's where you live now or where you're originally from. I'd love to know more about all of you. So please share with me in the comments where you're tuning in from. And I really, really appreciate you guys watching. So thank you so, so much. And until next time, I'm wishing you all my best. Sorry about that. Like I said at the beginning, this is where the story of me and my family, like this is where we're all from. So this is where like our story began. But
Nerd. I'm sorry.
I know you keep seeing me in the same clothes. I promise they're clean. I tried to pack light and I just did laundry while I'm down there.